In this video, I'm going to explain to you guys 6 things no one told me before visiting Cape Town, South Africa. Keep in mind some of these that I'm going to list not only pertain to the city, but also the country as a whole. And lastly, just to be honest, there are some things I was kind of informed about, but they're still going in the video. And lastly, hopefully this video helps some of you all who are coming down here soon. And when you get to a new country, you hate surprises. This is like the only time you hate surprises is while traveling. You don't want to get caught off guard with certain cultural aspects, norms, etc., etc. But without further ado, let's get into the first one, which is the views. Now, this is one aspect I was sort of told about before visiting, that Cape Town is a beautiful city, and I must admit, it really is. It's I think the word is scenic. It's really hard to beat a city that's along the coast because here you have the beaches mixed in with the city views and then the mountains in the background with the clouds that hover over them. In fact, the views here are actually a tourist attraction, meaning one of the things that's popular to do is to rent a vehicle and then drive along one of the many roads they have here. But there are certain highways that go along the coast. So you'll have the beach on one side and then you'll have greenery and the mountain views on the other. This next point is going to pertain to the vibe, the atmosphere here. And I want to say that visiting South Africa, the major cities here, it wasn't really a culture shock for me. I think one reason is because I've already experienced something similar in another country. South Africa, again, the major cities remind me so much of the major cities in Brazil. For example, Johannesburg reminds me of Sao Paulo, and Cape Town reminds me of Rio de Janeiro. I just got done talking about Cape Town having the beach views along with the city, mountains in the background, and then there's some townships not too far off. Rio is exactly the same. Beach views with the city next door, mountain views, and then favelas not too far off. One of the popular attractions here is Table Mountain, where you have a cable car that can go to the top. In Rio, one of the popular attractions is Sugarloaf Mountain that has a cable car that can go to the top. Lastly, here in Cape Town, everyone tells me about how beautiful it is, but then the crime. Same thing in Rio. How beautiful it is, but then the crime. So just all in all, as far as the landscape, the scenery, Cape Town reminded me of Rio. The next thing no one told me about Cape Town before visiting is about how delicious the wine is. I did not think South African wine was so good. Now, to be honest, I haven't been to many wine regions around the world yet, but so far in my travels, South Africa is #1. And I must say, if you drink alcohol, it's a must do. There are 2 things you must do. 1, visiting Table Mountain. Although in the videos I kept calling it Tabletop Mountain, but the name is actually Table Mountain. You can hike it if you want, which I actually did. I didn't bring my good camera, so I didn't put it in any of the videos. Or you can catch the cable car to the top. Just remember, if you have a fear of heights, do not look down. And the second thing is to visit a wine vineyard. Now, the great thing about this is that they're not far away. It's not like in other places or other countries where if you want to do a wine tour, you have to reserve a shuttle bus and then travel 4 to 5 hours away from the city center. Here in Cape Town, the wine vineyards are literally 20 to 30 minutes out. You can take the hop-on, hop-off bus, rent a vehicle and go there yourself, or simply just catch an Uber. And while sipping on wine, you'll be in a lovely vineyard with greenery, mountains, birds chirping. I mean, it was truly an experience. I would recommend it. Moving along, this next point, I think it's going to be very interesting, especially for some of those who haven't really traveled much internationally. When you get to another country, they have their own culture, customs, norms, and just a way of doing things. For example, some places they drive on the left side of the road and others the right side. Some places use Fahrenheit as a scale of temperature. Other places use Celsius. In some countries, they say I'm 6 feet tall, and others I'm 1.82 meters or whatever. In the US, our culture, I would say, is very unique. For example, we have something called the 1-drop rule, in which basically if you have Black African ancestry, even if you're mixed, you're automatically considered Black. Now, if you're half Black, half white, you're considered Black automatically. But when you get to other countries, you'll notice they do things differently. Here in South Africa, and I don't know if it's just in Southern Africa or maybe the whole continent, but they have a term for people who are mixed. It's called colored. People who are racially ambiguous. In the US, if you call someone colored, that can be a problem. You might have a lawsuit on your hand. You may lose your job, and it's going to be a problem. And Africa isn't unique in this way. When I was in South America, because there's a lot of mixing there, so they have terms for people who are mixed. If you've ever been to Brazil, they use the term pardo. In the Spanish-speaking world, they use terms like mestizo and just other ones. They have a lot. So that's something I want to point out. These last two on the list are going to go hand in hand. The first one is that Cape Town and just South Africa as a whole has people from everywhere. It's a very ethnically diverse place. For example, in Durban, last time I checked, is the city with the largest population of people of Indian descent outside of India, which surprised me. I thought it would be somewhere in the US or maybe like London. And Cape Town, ton of different groups. The Malaysian influence out here, which I'll touch on in the last point. Johannesburg, from what I understand, have people from all over Africa. At first, I didn't know that until people told me, and I don't mean to sound insensitive, it's just I haven't been here long enough to tell the difference between someone from, let's say, Botswana or Namibia or Zimbabwe. I can't tell the difference, not yet. The point I'm trying to make is that it's very diverse out here. And last but not least, I just wanted to touch on a neighborhood here called Bokap. Historically, this place has a lot of history. Many people from Malaysia, Indonesia, and I'm sure some other places in that region were brought here as slaves to work, and this is where they resided. There's a term that they use here, Cape Malay. Cape meaning Cape Town, and then Malay meaning Malaysians. You can book a tour here, which is what I did. The neighborhood's not huge, but it's very colorful, and the tour is around 45 minutes to 1 hour. I will say people have told me, hey, if you go, make sure it's during the day because at night, the scene is a little different. But without that being said, these are the 7 things no one told me about Cape Town. Hopefully this video has helped you. Hopefully you have learned something new, even if it's just one thing. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll catch you guys at the next one. Deuces.